friends, let's talk about the best brushes to use for painting clouds, how you might go about painting clouds. You can see my video arm next to my light table. I've got that behind me, and I've got a couple of small paintings I'm gonna take to the gallery. Okay, let's get started. Let's take a look at my setup here. So I've got a piece of loose canvas taped to just a piece of cardboard so that it's easier to paint, so that it's stiffer. I'll show you, it's from Michael's. So it's, ooh, that's big. It's the Artist Loft brand. I just cut a 12 by 16 sheet in half. I used my last sheet in here. You could save the back. Oh, sorry guys, darn it, I do that quite a bit. I bumped my video arm. You could save the cardboard back of that pad as something to paint on. And I'm just gonna take, a 1-inch flat brush, get it a little bit wet. And then I had some Colbalt Blue in the Basics, Liquitex. I love Liquitex. You can stand the paint on the caps and the paint stays down towards the end of the tube, and I mixed a little neutral gray 5 in it. And then this is titanium white, also Liquitex. If you wanted to mute the blue down, a lot of artists, and I do this quite a bit too, a lot of artists think you should use the orange. I'm not much of a should kind of a person, and I really like the neutral gray 5. It adds a little bit different color to it. But you could also mute down the blue with some orange, and I added some white to it. So we're just going to get some blue sky on here so we can paint some clouds on top of it. Now skies, sorry, a little dry there. Skies are usually bluer at the top. Oh, I need a little more water. They tend to be bluer as you look up, straight up, and then they get grayer as you go down towards your horizon line. Of course, I'm sure you can find exceptions to that rule, but that's just a little atmospheric perspective, is that skies get bluer towards the top and lighter and grayer as you go down. So I don't know, we're gonna do, I know I get comments once in a while that some people want to see every step, and to me, you guys can paint, you know, a blue background on to get started. And you could just paint on a piece of paper. It'll be more absorbent than the gessoed canvas. You could just paint on a piece of cardboard. I'm not really liking this brush. You could paint on a piece of cardboard. You know, I have the canvas handy in my studio. And it's inexpensive to practice on. So one thing you could do too, if you want really simple clouds, here, I'll show you. It's just paint, kind of paint a little, I've done this before in another video, you just kind of paint a little crisscrossy. Crisscrossy is a very technical art term. Just kind of paint, can you kind of see how there's little hints of clouds there? And then that could be it. That could be the end of this video. And then you can come back either when it's wet. Here, see if I can put in a few little. And if it starts to dry on you, don't worry, just let it dry. You can come back. You kind of can see there as I'm going back and forth, I'm getting some little clouds in there. Hints of clouds. So that's what we should call it, hints of clouds. And you could do this with a filbert. So I'm just using a bigger brush so it doesn't take quite so long. Now I'm just kind of showing off and playing with the clouds. This can be really fun. Take photos. Anybody can take photos of clouds with their cell phone. I printed out a couple of examples, but they're from websites like Unsplash, Pixabay, and I just don't know if it's okay to show those on YouTube. They're okay to paint from. I don't know all the rights, and the rights change, so I just want to be careful. Okay. Oops, need a little water. I'm just getting my brush a little bit wet so it flows a little bit better. I just barely dip it in the water. You don't usually need. I decided maybe I should go out towards the edge a little bit here in case we end up doing quite a few different types of clouds. Okay, I'm about done. Oh, and this, I'm just painting on an art table. And then this is just a larger piece of canvas in the background. I don't know if you can see it. Just to protect my art table. Just something you might want to do. Yeah, you might actually like a filbert. Just depending on how comfortable you are with which brushes. Oh, and I put out way more blue than I needed. So I'm kind of getting some sweepy, a little bit of water. So some people say, how do you know when you need to add water? When it starts to feel drag, when it starts to kind of drag, feels like it's dragging. It's just something like, well, painting something like this and practicing is really good, because then you'll figure out, oh, that feels kind of dry. I wonder if a little water would help. I just grabbed a little water there. Just paint things. You'll figure it out. You'll figure out what you like. Every artist is a little different. You might like something a little different. I'm just painting the whole thing now, so we have quite a bit of room and space for clouds. I'm also just showing you that you can kind of get, see, I'm kind of getting a little atmospheric perspective when I kind of have a V shape going in here. Between that and then, you know, bluer at the top. My paint's starting to dry. Okay, I'm going to dry this with a hair dryer. Oh, so I'm kind of going like this. So my brush stroke ends high. I lift up, and you get fewer marks. That might actually be a good tip. Okay, let's get this dry so we can paint some clouds on it. Like, that's definitely good enough for practice. Okay, so the big question that I see quite often in Facebook groups for beginning acrylic painter is, what brush is best for painting clouds? Well, here I've got a hint of clouds with a flat brush. You know, this is a really inexpensive flat brush. It did leave, I've got a few marks and streaks, but that actually might work to my advantage. You just don't know, or you could fix it. But it's almost like a little streaky cloud. You can do, here, let me slow down a little bit. So people get a little upset because I don't think there is a best brush for making clouds. It's kind of corny, but the clouds are in you. I mean, if you do this part with me, your sky is going to already look different than mine. It's like you have different handwriting than I do. You can make clouds with a palette knife. See that cloud right there? I made that with a palette knife. I made it with this palette knife. This video's on YouTube. It's in actual time. You can check it out. I'll try to remember to put the link. If I don't, just leave a comment and I'll get it. I'll get you the link for this one. A lot of people like to use a filbert. This is a filbert. And then the bigger the cloud you want, the bigger the brush you want to use. You could use a makeup brush. It's like a little mop brush. You could use a mop brush. I think I've got one. No, I don't have one handy. This is a deerfoot stippler. We'll see what kind of clouds we can get with this one. But one thing that might help you, so this is titanium white. You could put a little matte medium. You could use gloss. I just like the matte because it's not shiny when it dries. And then make a really transparent white with the matte medium. We'll do that. Or a neat tip if you don't happen to know this one. Get some transparent, see it even says right on there, transparent mixing white. Zinc white and mixing white are much more transparent than the titanium white. So we'll put some of that on our palette. We'll put it over here by the gray. And you'll even notice that it's a little different consistency. All right, so maybe we'll start, well here, should we start, we could use a square brush. Should we take a little water in our brush? I don't know if you can see that that's off camera, and some mixing white. So you just play with this, have fun, take the pressure off. You know, the first time you try to make clouds, it may not turn out the way you want. And that's totally okay. So I'm just gonna kind of push. Oh, I might have a little too much water in there. I washed my brush out. I bet it's a little too wet. Oops, I'm just trying to grab a little more paint. Here, let's switch brushes. So that's an example of when you have too much water in your brush. Happy accidents, huh? I'm just cleaning it out and I'm gonna get it halfway clean so I don't forget to wash it later. Let's try this again. I'm just gonna get just a teeny bit of water on my brush. And some mixing white. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So I don't know. So clouds, it's good to, as I said, to print out, take some photos. But they tend to be kind of flatter on the bottom. I'm just going to push this around. And I'm going to keep pushing it around. So it's starting to dry out on me. But what's kind of neat is if you push the mixing white, I'm already getting some light on the top of my cloud there. I could grab a little more, come back with sort of another layer of cloud. And then you try to be random. I think that's one of the biggest challenges of anything you do in art, is try to be kind of random. Okay, so now I'm playing and having fun, and I probably should show. And then when that dries, we can come back with a little titanium white and brighten that up some more. So that's mixing white in a filbert brush, which I think a lot of people would like. I like that one a lot. Let's do a little matte medium. And then let's mix it with a little titanium white. So I've got about that much titanium white, and it looks like my palette knife's kind of dirty. I'm gonna clean it off. Oop, still not clean. Okay, and then let's do about the same amount. Let's do about half and half. That might be too much. So if you use too much water, like I really had too much water there, it can underbind and not stick. But I think as long as you have the blue paint base, and then this is really light washy, but then I'll put like a gel gloss isolation over the final painting and then matte varnish it. Oh, sorry, I just hit my table again. Acrylic paint likes to stick to each other. So if you take two paintings and you store them like this, which I don't recommend doing, eventually they'll be stuck together and you won't be able to get them apart. They just, even though I varnished these, they just like to glue themselves together. They'll stick to glass. So you don't put glass on an acrylic painting. It'll, or at least don't have the glass touching, because it'll start to fuse, which is such a pain if you don't know that. All right, let's try this guy. I'm gonna get it a little bit wet. I just dipped it in my water and it's such a tight brush. I'm just seeing how wet it is. Let's see what kind of clouds this is gonna make. Let's see, I don't know where I wanna make. Oh, here, we could kind of actually go like that. Oh, that's pretty. And then I'm gonna offload, put some on my paper towel. Oh, you guys might like this. I've never made clouds with a makeup brush. But look, I can get some really soft. I'm gonna take a little more off on a paper towel. Oh, and you could look, you could get some wispies. Here. Oh, I had a little bit of white paint there, so I just pulled up some wispies. Oh, that's kind of neat. All right, I might be a new fan of the makeup brush. Cheap too. Can't beat that. Some people only buy really nice brushes. I have a combination of everything. I have some expensive brushes, and then, I don't know, I think this came like in a 3-pack for a couple dollars, you know? Oh, that's really fun. And that went brighter quicker. So maybe we needed even a little more matte medium. Okay, I'm gonna end up filling it all up with clouds before we get to all the different tools. I start having fun. I think these art tip videos are some of the most fun videos because there's like, who cares if you get it wrong? It's just a piece of canvas, you know? Just play with it. You can throw it away if you don't like it. You could, if you don't get it too thick, if you get it kind of thick, you could sand it down, gesso over it, or just paint over it and, you know, try it again. Okay, so let's do a palette knife. Where's my palette knife? So, and you can also put a little matte medium into your zinc white and make it even more transparent. So the matte medium, I don't know exactly what it is. It's like straight up acrylic with no pigment. So it dries clear. And since it's matte, it dries matte. Oh, these, I'm not real crazy. I like using styrofoam plates, but these are really flimsy. I got a whole bunch for not much money. So in this case, this art supply might be too cheap. I like a little bit nicer styrofoam plate to use as a palette. Okay, I'm gonna clean off my knife just because I've got a lot of stuff on. I'm gonna grab just some on the end. Let's see what kind of cloud we can get here. So I'm just gonna push it around, or you could just go, you could just pull it, or you could kind of scumble it almost like it's a brush. Well, that's kind of a neat one too. It's here, I don't know if you can see that. It's picking up the texture of the canvas a little bit, which I like too. So if you want more edges, or you're just doing a palette knife painting, you can totally get suggestions of clouds with a palette knife. So if you don't have the brush that I'm using or some other artist is using that you're following their tutorial, you know, don't feel like it has to stop you. You can use what you have. And don't feel like you have to go out and buy a bunch of art supplies. See, that could even be kind of neat little, I've got some little clouds in the background, you know, off in the distance kind of thing. All right, we haven't tried the Deerfoot stippler yet. Should we try that one? And then now pretty much, and then maybe we'll come back and brighten some of these up. All right, so it looks like a Deerfoot. It's kind of angled. They come in different sizes. Oh gosh, you know another one you could use? I don't know if I'm gonna show you. But you could use something like this, like a round brush. This one's a real stiff one, but you could just scumble it. Actually, might work better than the, maybe I'll show you. Might work better than a filbert. You'll just have to see what you like. How many times have I said that? Probably a few. What should we use? A little titanium white with a little matte medium. It really doesn't matter. Let's see, should we, I don't know where to go. Actually, that might not be my favorite. No, you can make it work. Oh, here's another little tip. So start light with your clouds, because you can always come back and add another layer and add more white. But if it's a little too white, take a paper towel and soften it up. Well, this works pretty neat too. I think you just kind of have to decide what you like. And then you see how I kind of make it, I can make it just soft, and then there's more cloud coming up here. Oh, and then try to turn your brush or turn your, well, that's pretty. I like clouds. Can you tell I like clouds? Okay, so one more little thing. We'll just switch brushes just because. So I really haven't used this yet. It's a number 6 Princeton Select, and I don't know what they call it. I'm sure it has a name. Princeton, this is a nicer brush. This is a nicer brush from a good company, Princeton, compared to my, I won't say where I bought it from, makeup brush. Just in case. I don't know, in case that was interesting. So I'm going to take some straight up titanium white now. And then we can scumble in. So we'll just say the light is kind of coming from this way, which I hadn't been paying attention to in this video. But so you can get some brighter tops on some of your clouds. And then I'm just letting it run out of paint. And I kind of like that little happy accident there. It's kind of neat. So if the light's coming from this direction, we probably need, gosh, you know what? I think all these work really well. We need some brighter peaks coming in there. So this isn't all that different than how you could do water too. If you guys are trying to paint oceans and water, just start light, like right in here, and then build up. See how you could see how that could be a wave? And then you maybe add some blue greens in there. So clouds are very similar to waves. But sometimes people start with a landscape. So they've got trees and waves and sand. It just gets hard. Maybe just start with a pretty cloud painting. You could take a picture of it, or if you know how to have a scanner, could scan it into your computer. And it could be a nice thinking of you card, you know? All right. And then here, should we take our palette knife? Of course, that really dried darker. Acrylics dry darker. We get a few little peaks in here. Palette knife will probably take you a little longer. I just think it's neat because you get some really cool textures and lots of, you can see I can't control it as well. But that can give you some really neat looking paintings if you don't worry too much about how it's turning out. I know, probably a bunch of you just laughed there because it's hard not to worry, especially if you're a new painter. It just, you want it to turn out really well. But you have to remember, like when I first started golfing, oh my gosh, I had to get out there in front of people because I went to a Tuesday morning women's thing and tee off, and I'd only golfed a few times before. And it was just so scary, and I was so nervous, and they were really nice. They were telling jokes, trying to help me relax, because I mean, they've all been there. But, oh here, you can even use your finger Smudge with your finger. Your finger can be something you paint clouds with. Anyway, I was saying golfing. I mean, I get that people are nervous, but the nice thing about YouTube is I'm not watching. I'm not there telling you whether you're doing it right or wrong. There's not even a ball to get in a hole on the green. I mean, you can throw this away. Just have fun, relax, listen to some music. That's what I like so much about art. It's just nice, quiet time. Well, I'm not sure I like that. We're gonna go with it anyway. You know, it's just nice, quiet, relaxing time. And you're gonna play with a little blue paint and a little white paint. Oh, that's kind of neat. Get a little wind blowing. Okay, guys, I think you get the idea. So clouds are in the artist, not in the brush. I hope this was helpful. It was really fun for me. I just love hanging out with you guys. I love connecting with you in the comments. I really appreciate the subscribes. I've gotten a couple of Venmo payments supporting these videos. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate that. Great big art hugs. I hope to chat with you soon.